Welcome to the Deep in Sports Thought News. I'm your host, Calabasas Pro Shops, and today we are going to go through some of the scores in Week 1 of the NFL preseason. To be specific, the two divisions that will be under question for predictions today, the AFC and NFC East. Starting off with the AFC East, the Buffalo Bills defeated the Indianapolis Colts 23-19. First-round quarterback for the Colts, Anthony Richardson, struggled in his preseason debut with an interception and less yards than his fellow Colts quarterbacks Sam Ehlinger and Gardner Minshew. For the Bills, though many starters didn't play, their new number one running back, James Cook, impressed as he scored a touchdown in the first, cementing himself as the number one for their backfield. The New York Jets defeated the Panthers 27-0. Zach Wilson exuded more confidence and it showed with a very nice 70% completion percentage and a touchdown. But he wasn't the only young quarterback to shine, as Bryce Young, this year's first overall pick for the Carolina Panthers, flashed great pocket presence and willingness to take a hit to make the right throw. Atlanta defeated Miami 19-3 with an exquisite defensive showing by Atlanta as they stumped the Dolphins. They sacked them 5 times and made them throw 3 interceptions, 2 off of Skylar Thompson and 1 off of Mike White, and even had a punt return touchdown. Well, it was mostly Miami's backups. Could the Falcons surprise us all? Houston defeated the Patriots 20-9. As their first-round quarterback, C.J. Stroud, struggled, but still sits behind 2 very serviceable quarterbacks in Davis Mills and Case Keenum. The Patriots' backup Bailey Zappi had a nice game, but unfortunately they couldn't get the job done. They fall 20-9. Now moving on to the NFC East. Detroit may not have had their best offensive game, with their QB Nate Sudfeld throwing 2 interceptions, but their special teams field goals and punt return touchdown would put them ahead. And despite a great showing by Giants backup quarterback Tommy DeVito with 155 yards, a touchdown, and an interception, the G-Men would still fall 21-16. In Philly's first game since losing to the world champs in the Kansas City, they would take another loss, this time to the preseason champs. Baltimore's preseason streak increases to 24. And despite playing to little no starters, the Eagles kept it close. But unfortunately, Josh Johnson and Tyler Huntley moved the offense, and a 4-sack day by Baltimore's defense secured a win 20-19. In the Jaguars-Cowboys game, Trevor Lawrence's short time in the game was great, going 5 for 6 and throwing a touchdown. But it was backup quarterback for the Jaguars, Nathan Rourke, with the play of the preseason, eluding sack after sack to hit Kadri Olesen for a sensational touchdown to cap off their scoring for the night. They win 28-23. Fortunately for Dallas, however, they stayed in the game. With many starters not playing, they still had some backups shine. Quarterback Will Grier had 2 touchdowns, and rookie 6th-round pick Deuce Vaughn had a great rushing game, 8 for 50 and a touchdown. Lastly, Washington and the Browns. Both teams had many highs and lows. Cleveland's Deshaun Watson flashed some vintage playmaking that made him so special in Houston, while Washington also looked good behind both Sam Howell and Jacoby Brissett. The Browns would make this one interesting, down 2 after scoring a touchdown late in the game. Their 2-point conversion would be just a little high, and Washington would walk away victorious in my match of the week. Now, we're going to go on to the weather, and we're going to go to our forecaster, Bingo Star. Thanks, Calabasas. Taking it from here, the Mets play a series against the Pittsburgh Pirates to start off this week, and they do have some real concern here out in the city for some real rain, and it is definitely something that all people looking to attend these games should keep an eye on. Fortunately for the Mets, they finish their week against the St. Louis Cardinals, and it is absolutely beautiful down there in Missouri, full of sunshine and some high heat. And speaking of high heat, down in hot Atlanta where the Yankees are playing their first series of the week, it is definitely not going to hit the 99 that it can potentially be when the Yankees are there, but they should still expect some high heat weather and some nice sun. And finally, the Bronx Bombers come back to the city to go against their arch nemesis, the Red Sox. And despite Friday being a little bit questionable, the rest of the time they play that team, they should be pretty good. Sending it back to the studio. That's going to do it for us here at the Deep in Sports Thought News. I've been Calabasas Pro Shops, and we're going to now send you back to your regularly scheduled programming. Welcome to the Deep in Sports Thought podcast. I'm Chase Caridi, and I want to welcome you all to episode 2. And a massive thank you to everyone who commented, who enjoyed it, everyone who liked and subscribed, and even shared it to their friends. I am incredibly grateful that you all have enjoyed the first episode, and I can't wait to get started with this one. We're going to break down my predictions for the AFC and NFC East. We're going to talk about the Mets and Yankees currently, and of course, we're going to finish off with the Wheel of Impressions. And with that all being said, first topic. So starting off the AFC East predictions, I'm going to go from last place to the top. And with fourth place, I have the New England Patriots. I have the Patriots going 5-12 this year. Some notable losses I have here is the Eagles. They start off week 1. Then they go to the Dolphins, which have always had their number. And then they go to the Jets in MetLife. It's a very tough start for this season for the New England Patriots, which starts a really tough losing streak. I do have some nice little wins here and there. Of course, I have them beating the Dallas Cowboys. Look around here. They'll beat the Indianapolis Colts in Germany. And finishing up near their season, the last win I have them doing is all the way in Week 14 against the Pittsburgh Steelers. It's a really tough schedule for the New England Patriots. I'll say it probably a million times this episode, but they have such a tough division with the New York Jets, who got so much better over the offseason, the Miami Dolphins, who are still very strong, and of course, the division-winning Buffalo Bills. On top of that, the AFC East is incredibly strong, having to play teams like the Chargers, the Chiefs, and even whatever the Broncos might be. Might have been an unfortunate choice for who the top teams are going to be in the AFC, but nevertheless, the New England Patriots are definitely the worst in the AFC East division, going 5-12. In third place, I have the Miami Dolphins. They'll go 9-8 this year. I know, very close to 500. And honestly, when I was putting it together, I was shocked at how many losses I had ended up giving them. But taking a look at their schedule, they start off with the Chargers, the kings of inconsistency. But I just think they'll come out guns blazing. And of course, we'll talk about the Chargers on another episode eventually. But for now, I think they can take that early win there. I think you go to Buffalo in Week 4. That's a very tough matchup. Week 5, it's a 50-50 with the Giants, but I gave it to the Giants just because I think that, kind of like the Chargers, they'll just flash sometimes. I think the Chargers are definitely better than the Giants, but I think the Giants in Week 5, that might be when everything starts clicking. Out of nowhere, you might see some great play calling, Daniel Jones being a great playmaker, and of course Saquon Barkley. Other things here, you got the Eagles in the Eagles Stadium. You got the Kansas City Chiefs in Kansas City. A lot of tough matchups here for the Miami Dolphins. And of course, 9-8 is a respectable record. You might just miss the playoffs. You might just make the playoffs. So, and like I said, with teams like the Giants and even like the Chargers in Week 1, there's a lot of coin tosses with this one. A lot of 50-50s here. So the Miami Dolphins could be much better than I think they're going to be, or they could be much worse. But for now, I've got them 9-8, third in the division. So now in second place, not getting the division title, is the Jets. The New York Jets will go 12-5 this year. Of course, a great record, so much better than last year, the decades past, but I just don't see them winning the division. They've got some tough games early in the season. They've got Kansas City in Week 4. They've got Philly in Week 6. And I ended up even giving them a loss against the Chargers, which I just said for Miami. You don't know what that team's going to be. They can easily win a game against the Buffalo Bills and then suddenly get blown out by the Jets. Unfortunately, I just think that the Jets are going to lose in that situation. And then I think for their last loss, Yeah, I have a loss against the Bills and a loss against the Dolphins. So of course they're going to have a couple of divisional rival qualms as well. But of course 12 and 5, a great record, easily going to make the playoffs. And then once you make the playoffs, all you got to do is get hot at the right time. So no need to get your pitchforks out yet, Gangrene. I still have you making the playoffs in second place, but you're definitely not beating out the number one team. And of course, in first place in the AFC East for the fourth year in a row, I've got the Buffalo Bills. The Buffalo Bills have only gotten better. Of course, there was the Diggs questions that we had in the offseason. There was questions of, who they can add, they can make better, and of course, losing your defensive coordinator Leslie Frazier. Of course, you saw the offense kind of trip up after losing Dayball to the Giants and having to bring in Dorsey and move around your whole coaching staff. And of course, last season was not perfect. But I've got the Buffalo Bills winning this division once more. They will go 14 and 3. Their three losses, and I'm being completely fair, they're losing to the Jets in week one. You are in MetLife Stadium. You don't know what Rodgers is going to be on the Jets. It can completely blow up in the Jets' face in week one, or they can absolutely blow up in terms of scoring, and the Bills won't even know what's happening by the time it's 21-0. I've got the Jets winning that one. Taking a look further down, of course, at the Bengals in Cincinnati. That is an incredibly tough matchup for any team, let alone the team that got knocked out in the divisional round by Cincy. That's really unfortunate for them. And then just a couple of weeks later, you have the Philadelphia Eagles in Lincoln Financial Field. Another incredibly tough matchup for a team that just made the Super Bowl. And if I am correct, I believe that is the first time the Jalen Hurts Eagles will be meeting the Buffalo Bills, and we've seen how the Bills play against Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, even Deshaun Watson. It's very hard for any team, but also the Bills, which are a top contending team. It's very tough for them to keep up with those scrambling quarterbacks, and Jalen Hurts is an entire different breed. So it's going to be a tough one. I've got the Bills losing that one, but that's only three losses on the regular season. So the Buffalo Bills are winning the AFC East 14 and 3. So just to cap us off here, I have the New England Patriots at 5 and 12, last in the division. I have the third place Miami Dolphins at 9 and 8. Second place is Gangrene, the New York Jets at 12 and 5. And then I've got the Buffalo Bills at 14 and 3 in first place in the AFC East. Let's go Buffalo. Now moving on to the NFC East, again starting at last place, I've got the Washington Commanders at 4 and 13. Now before you attack me, Commanders fans, I do think that this is a very competitive team. This is a young team, so it's got to take a lot for these players to get to the best that they can be at this point. There's going to be a lot of booms and a lot of busts for a lot of these players. Of course, the defensive line has been phenomenal these past couple of years. Montez Sweat, Chase Young, Jonathan Allen, and even the offense actually looks really nice when you look at the weapons. Terry McLaurin's been a top 10 receiver in the past. Jahan Dotson was a really nice first-round pick last year. And even Curtis Samuel, who's been all reliable in both Carolina and now Washington. There is a lot of pieces to like for the Washington Commanders, but unfortunately, along with having to get them all to play perfectly at the right time, they also just have so many tough matchups. Take a look here. They have the Buffalo Bills, the Eagles, even the Chicago Bears, who they look to be heavily improving this year, all in a row, which is really tough. The Broncos at home. You don't know what they're going to be with Sean Payton and Russell Wilson and all those boys. The Seattle Seahawks at home, the Patriots at home, and of course your division has the team that made the Super Bowl last year for the NFC in the Philadelphia Eagles. An incredibly tough playoff potential team in the Dallas Cowboys. And of course, Big Blue, the New York Giants. So a lot of tough matchups on the docket for the Washington Commanders this year. I think it'll definitely be a growing year, another time to get a high pick, make some nice trades, keep improving your team. But I'm sorry, Washington. This just isn't your year. Now moving on to third place, a bit of a big jump from 4 to 13, but still not perfect. I've got the Dallas Cowboys. They will go 9 and 8 this season. Kind of similarly with the Miami Dolphins, I was kind of surprised how I made the Cowboys as close as 500 as they possibly can while still making them a winning team. But you take a look, they start their season off with the Giants at home. They're a very high potential team that could really flash in just week one at home with that rowdy crowd from New Jersey, New York, whatever you want to call it. But of course, they still have some tough matchups like the Jets, the Patriots, who knows what they're going to be, the 49ers, you got to go to San Fran. The Eagles, of course, are still in your division. And like I said before, you're facing the AFC East, so you got to deal with Miami and the Bills and all those tough teams. So I know that Dallas has a very nice team. They've got Dak Prescott behind center. You got rid of Ezekiel Elliott, but honestly, Tony Pollard deserved the starting job for a couple of years now. Some really nice receiving threats. You got the growing CD Lamb. Brandon Cooks is another old reliable receiver that they've added to this great roster, and Michael Gallup. The defense, Trayvon Diggs, Leighton Vander Esch, Micah Parsons, a lot of great young players that should make for a really fun team for Dallas to watch and just for more and more for them to scream America's team. But luckily for the rest of America, I don't think they'll be necessarily be doing that great in the regular season. They could make the playoffs, as I said with Miami, a lot of 50-50 games with this team, and they can even make the playoffs at just 9-8, but they could also just miss it. Nevertheless, the Dallas Cowboys going in third place in 2023 to 24 at 9-8. In second place in the NFC East, I've got Big Blue, the New York Football Giants. I love them going 10-7 this year, which is going to be very close with Dallas. Those divisional matchups are going to be very tough. They were very tough to predict, as well as most of the Giants' season. Along with a lot of teams they're playing being so boom or bust, the Giants themselves are a massive question. Can Saquon carry this offense? Will Daniel Jones continue to thrive in the Daboll system? Will Daboll continue to improve in terms of his play call? And will a lot of these weapons really become viable options for Daniel Jones and the coaching staff to use to the best of their ability? Of course, we saw the growth of a player like Isaiah Hodgins, but we just got to see it continue growing with everyone else on this roster. Taking a look at their schedule, they've got some early tough matchups. They've got Dallas week one, but that's in MetLife. I believe the Giants could take that. They have San Francisco in Levi's Stadium, which is just a really tough matchup for a lot of teams this season. So I've got the Giants losing that one. Of course, they've got the AFC East, so the Bills, the Jets, those are all good amount of losses. I said with the divisional rivals, they can split with the Cowboys. They'll probably split with the Commanders and the Eagles. They might get swept by the Eagles, honestly. Nevertheless, this team is good. They've got some really nice pieces on both offense and defense. They've got obviously a great coaching staff, but once again, it comes down to putting it all together. And I do believe the Giants will definitely succeed this year, finishing out in second place in the division at 10-7. And so to round us out here for the NFC East and predictions as a whole, I got the first place Philadelphia Eagles. I've got them going 13-4. They of course made the Super Bowl last year. Jalen Hurts was an MVP caliber player for a lot of the season, and you take a look at their schedule, it is honestly not that difficult. They've got a lot of intermediate to easy matchups, whatever the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going to be, whatever the Rams are going to be, a lot of questionable teams. So it also can even bring up the question, could these teams shock? Could these teams kind of upset the Philadelphia Eagles and make for this great David versus Goliath story? Who knows? We're going to just have to get farther and farther in the season to find out. But just from where we are right now, what we've seen in 1 week of preseason, and what we can see in terms of the moves that have been made from the past years of these certain players, I've got the Eagles taking a lot of easy games here. Of course, they have Kansas City in Arrowhead in Kansas City. That's really tough for them, especially since they just lost the Super Bowl against them last season. They've got the San Francisco 49ers, who could be the best team in the league, potentially on how their quarterback situation goes. And of course, you've got some tough divisional opponents. You've had some troubles with the Giants and Cowboys in the past, and of course, they're only getting better. They can be playoff teams. So It's going to be really interesting to see. It's going to be a very fun division. It's not NFC least anymore. This is definitely one of the best divisions with one of the best teams coming out with the Eagles. And so those are my predictions for the AFC and NFC East this season. Comment down below what you thought. I'll make sure to give them all a read. And we're going to move on now to our next topic. So our next topic for the day, we're going to talk about the New York Mets and Yankees this past week since my last episode, and we're starting off with the New York Mets. The New York Mets in their past 8 games have been 4-4. This, of course, being recorded after their win against the Pittsburgh Pirates just a few hours ago. And the New York Mets have, after trading all of their players, the best caliber players, they have been stuck with a team that has been certainly hard to watch at some points. But nevertheless, they've cracked 500 in the past 8 games. They are fourth in their division, just really in a close, tight race for last with the Washington Nationals. But nevertheless, the Mets are still putting together nice wins, and we're just going to have to see how they'll fare next week. And for the New York Yankees, things are not looking much better. They have a 2-5 record for their last 7 games. The lost in a series against the Chicago White Sox. They lost a series against the Miami Marlins and have lost the opener against the Atlanta Braves. This Yankees team is fifth in the AL East. Of course, as for the Mets, things are really not looking great in New York. And unfortunately, things are getting easier for really either of these teams. They play, the Yankees will finish, of course, their series with Atlanta, then go on to play Boston, who, those matchups are always very interesting. And for the Mets, they're finishing off this series against the Pirates, which they've won game 1, but knowing this team, who knows what's going to happen in the next. And then they have a 4-game series against St. Louis, who are trying everything to be relevant, and knowing the Mets, they'll definitely try to make them do so. But that's our baseball segment. We're going to move on to our last topic. Alright, now it is time for the Wheel of Impressions. We've added some, we've lost some, mostly because I've had to restart the thing because I guess I lost the old wheel. But we're just gonna give it an old spin and then we'll have to find something to debate about. Well, isn't that just fitting? Alright, I'll see you guys in a bit. Okay, guys, we are just about ready for this debate, but unfortunately my guest just isn't here yet. Of course, he's running late again. God, I'm really not looking forward to this, but hey, where's he at? I can only mean one thing. Hey, there he is. There's the man of the hour. There's little Chasilla. Yep, thanks. Thanks. Told you not to call me that, but alright. Hey, come on. Lighten up, will you? And speaking of lighten up, well, you look like you haven't eaten in days. What? Your mom not feeding you or something? Alright, well, this has already been very nice. Can you please introduce yourself for the viewers? Oh, you're no fun anymore. I'm Tony Flibbity Gibonacci. I'm a family friend, family member. Who knows at this point? There's so many freaking people around these days. Alright, so our topic for today is going to be whether or not the New York Yankees make the playoffs in 2023. Oh, oh, Chase, you see the hat? You see the hat, don't you? Yes, I see the hat. That's why you are going to defend why they are, and that's why I'm going to defend why they will not. And I'll start off by saying, look at where they are right now. They are in the toughest division in baseball right now, and they are in last place of it. And it's not going to get any easier as time goes on. Baltimore's players are just going to continue to grow since they're all so young. The Tampa Bay Rays, though they've lost so many starting pitchers, and especially with the Wander Franco situation right now, he's not playing for them right now. It is going to be tough for them, but still, besides that, the Boston Red Sox have continued to be a thorn in the side of the Yankees, and the Toronto Blue Jays have quietly been a very nice team throughout the season. So there's no way that the Yankees can even jump any one of them and try to make the playoffs with it. All right, well, first of all, you're already full of it because you take a look at the Boston Red Sox. What are they good for? They've never done anything that we've ever had to think about in terms of how good they're playing. The Toronto Blue Jays, come on, from Canada? Come on, there's no way, bro. Come on, that they're gonna be the ones to gonna beat out the Yankees to the playoffs. Oh, the Toronto Blue Jays, and you just said the Tampa Bay Rays. Were they injured? A lot of people not playing. There's such an easy way for the New York Yankees to get all the way back to the top where they're supposed to be. I give you Baltimore's been a bit of a toughie this year, but still, the Yankees, they just got back Aaron Judge. I mean, come on, the home run king. I mean, who's Mickey Mantle? Who's Joe DiMaggio? Who's Babe Ruth? Come on, Aaron Judge is where it's at, bro. And he is going to take them to the promised land and get them out of first place in the AL East. No doubt about it. But that's disregarding the fact that so many players have been lost to injury. I mean, we've seen Nestor Cortez go on and off. We've seen Sevy completely blow up. Rodon not being what he was supposed to be. And especially now with Anthony Rizzo now being out with a concussion that he's had for months. I mean, this team is just looking more and more like a joke. I'm a Mets fan saying that this team is looking like a clown show. Yeah, well, that's because the clown show was constructed by that no good Steinbrenner, the son that never should have been keeping the control of the place, and his little crony, his freaking best friend, general manager. I mean, I'm sick of it. I'm sick and tired of the both of them. They should have been gone for years now. I mean, the two of them are just a bunch of no good sons of bitch. Okay, Tony, we can calm down. We don't have to harp on any specific people or anything. You could be upset with the team. Of course, I would be if I was a Yankees fan. This team is just not going anywhere, and of course, the management and the front office don't seem to be helping a lot either. I mean, we saw what they did at the trade deadline. Oh yeah, we did. Kenyon Middleton, the greatest reliever to ever grace the earth. I mean, did you see the way he knocked down his former team? Now, that is the kind of man, that is the kind of personality I need in my locker room. I mean, come on, bro. That you gotta love that, right? That's the kind of person you want in your locker room. Whatever. That was not enough. And even the other trade they made for Spencer Howard, that also wasn't enough to move the needle. The Yankees were supposed to really try and grab these pieces that can completely change their season, but they didn't. They didn't do really anything at the trade deadline, and now because of it, this team is looking more and more on the outside of the playoffs. Out of the playoffs. Come on, get out of here with that. You see Garrett Cole being a Cy Young. You got Aaron Judge hitting bombs. Did I even mention Aaron Judge yet? I don't think I did. Yes, you've mentioned Aaron Judge. And Garrett Cole, yes, Garrett Cole has been a Cy Young type player this year, but that doesn't get rid of the fact that the rest of your rotation is a massive question mark. Clark Schmidt's been nice in some points, but Johnny Brito, Cortez, I already said. You haven't seen Montas. Rodon has been questionable ever since he came back and then left. It's nothing to really hold your head on in terms of the rotation besides one guy who plays every 5 days. Alright, but even still, Garrett Cole's doing great, Aaron Judge doing great. There's nothing to hate about this team. And th- I'm, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Yeah. Oh, okay, where's he at? Yeah, I can deal with him. Alright. Sorry, Jason boy. I'm gonna have to cut this one short. We gotta take care of someone with the boys. What do you mean someone's gotta get taken care of? Oh, come on, you know what I'm saying. The car, right? You gotta go to mechanics. They need a new oil rig, or pole, or nuts and bolts, something or other. I'll catch you around though. Okay. Maybe we'll pick this up at a next family gathering, huh? Yeah. Okay. I'll see you. All right. Well, I'll see you, man. Yeah, love you, kid. I love you. Yeah, you too. Hey, tell your mom to make those cookies. Yeah, I'll
Hey,
make
you
sure
know, we
she
love
makes
those,
more of
eh?
those for
But I'll see you around.
next family gathering. All right. I'll see you. I'll see you. We'll just let's move on to the next topic, whatever that is. To Chase. All right, that is gonna do it for the second episode of this podcast. I am so sorry that once again I couldn't get it out in time. That this is not coming out on Monday. I'm gonna really try for next week that this one comes out on the time that I'm actually really scheduling these for. But nevertheless, I am so grateful and really happy that everyone who has watched this has liked and giving feedback. I really appreciate each and every one of you, and just really drives me to want to do this even more. So, again, with that all being said, I'm Chase Caridi, and this has been the Deep in Sports Thought Podcast.